The planet Zyphora was unlike any other in the known galaxy. Its skies shimmered with shades of violet and gold, and the seas glowed softly under the twin moons. Cities floated in the clouds, held aloft by technologies that seemed like magic to outsiders. At the center of this marvel stood the palace of the Zyphorian royal family, a structure of crystal and light, where the most brilliant minds of the planet often gathered. Princess Liara, the youngest of the royal siblings, moved through the palace corridors with a confident grace. Her long silver hair shimmered as she walked, and her eyes, a deep violet, reflected a mind sharp and unyielding. Unlike her elder siblings who followed tradition strictly, Liara was adventurous. She loved testing herself, challenging the rules and questioning the expectations of Zyphoria's elite. Today the palace was filled with guests from across the galaxy. Ambassadors, traders, and diplomats from dozens of worlds had arrived for the Celestial Council gathering, a rare event held every decade. It was a display of wealth, power, and intelligence. Everyone was eager to see Zyphoria's princesses, who were known not only for their beauty, but for their extraordinary skills in diplomacy, strategy, and art. Liara stood in the central hall, observing the crowd. Her attention was caught by a peculiar alien from the planet Dravex, a species famous for their cunning and unpredictable nature. The Dravex diplomat bowed deeply. "Princess Liara," he said, "your reputation reaches every corner of the galaxy. I challenge you to a wager of wit and skill." Liara raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "A wager?" she asked. "And what exactly do you propose?" The Dravex smiled, sharp and calculating. "A contest of intellect, strategy, and courage. If you win, my people will provide Zyphoria with exclusive trade technologies. But if you lose—" He paused for effect, his eyes gleaming. "You must marry someone from outside Zyphoria." The hall gasped. Even the elders murmured among themselves. Marrying outside the planet was almost unheard of for a Zyphorian royal. It was considered a great risk, for outsiders were seen as unpredictable, unrefined, and frankly inferior. Liara's lips curved into a small, confident smile. "Very well," she said. "I accept your wager." The rules were simple yet complex. The contest had 3 stages. First, a mental challenge testing logic, memory, and problem-solving. Second, a trial of agility and reflexes through the palace's floating gardens, a place filled with moving platforms, shifting lights, and delicate crystal bridges. Third, a test of courage, a simulation of a dangerous planetary storm, where participants had to navigate through holographic lightning and wind. Liara faced each stage with determination. In the first stage, the mental challenge, she solved puzzles that even the Dravex struggled to understand. Her mind raced faster than anyone watching expected, her calculations precise and fluid. She answered each question with confidence, earning applause from the observing diplomats. In the second stage, the floating gardens, Liara moved like a shadow among the platforms. Her balance was perfect, her reflexes sharp. She leaped from crystal bridge to crystal bridge, avoiding pitfalls and timing her movements with precise skill. Even the most agile Zyphorian guards watched in awe. Finally, the test of courage arrived. The palace simulation room filled with holographic storms, winds that felt as strong as real gales, and flashing lightning that danced dangerously close. Liara took a deep breath. She remembered her training, her instincts, and her desire to prove herself. She ran, dodged, and moved with courage that was almost instinctive. For a moment, it seemed as if nothing could stop her. Then, the unexpected happened. The Dravex had secretly tampered with the simulation, creating a hidden obstacle. Liara, focused on the lightning ahead, did not notice a sudden shift in the floor. She stumbled, almost falling into the holographic storm. She managed to recover just in time, but the judges had already seen the slip. By the rules of the wager, the challenge was lost. The hall went silent. No one had expected this outcome. The Dravex smiled, bowing slightly, and said, "The wager is concluded. Princess Liara, the agreement stands. You must marry a human." For a moment, Liara's mind raced. Humans from Earth? She had heard of them. They were known across the galaxy for their unpredictability and, often, their recklessness. They had survived in a harsh, unstable world, but Zyphorians considered them primitive. Marrying one was a shocking idea. The elders approached. "Princess," said Elder Mirian, his voice calm but firm, "Zyphoria has laws. A wager is binding. You have no choice but to honor the agreement." Liara's jaw tightened. Pride surged within her. She hated the idea of being forced into something, especially with a human, but she also understood Xiphoria's traditions. Honor was everything. To break the wager would bring shame not only upon herself, but upon her family and her planet. With a deep breath, she nodded. "I will honor the wager," she said, her voice steady, though her heart raced. "Prepare the arrangements. I will marry this human as the agreement requires." The announcement caused a ripple through the crowd. Some diplomats looked shocked, others intrigued. Whispers spread on a human. The princess is bound to a human? Some feared this would weaken Xiphoria's influence, while others wondered if this bold move might change the galaxy's perception of humans. Liara returned to her chambers, alone for a moment. She stared out at the violet sky, the twin moons reflecting in her eyes. Her mind was a storm of thoughts and questions. How would a human live among Xiphorians? Could she trust someone so different? Could this marriage, forced though it was, lead to something meaningful? Meanwhile, across the galaxy, on a small blue planet called Earth, Captain Elias Drake went about his daily life. He was a space explorer, a man known for courage and resourcefulness. He had navigated asteroid belts, negotiated with alien traders, and survived situations many others would never dare face. Yet he was completely unprepared for the news that would soon arrive. A holographic message appeared before him, official and glowing with alien symbols. It translated instantly. "Captain Elias Drake, you have been selected to marry Princess Liara of Xiphora, as required by interstellar law and recent diplomatic wager outcomes." Elias blinked, stunned. "Marry a princess?" he muttered. "An alien princess?" He paced his quarters. "This has to be a mistake. I explore, I negotiate, I survive. But marriage? With an alien?" He ran his hands through his hair. His life, which had always been unpredictable, now felt utterly chaotic. Back on Xiphora, preparations for Liara's departure began. Her attendants packed ceremonial robes, gifts for the human, and devices designed to help her navigate Earth's unfamiliar environment. Scientists briefed her on human culture, teaching her customs, language nuances, and etiquette. Yet even with all the knowledge, Liara felt a mix of anxiety and curiosity. Humans were unlike any species she had met before. They were raw, unrefined, yet resilient and creative in ways Xiphorians rarely understood. The day of her departure arrived. The royal transport ship gleamed under the violet sun. Liara stood at the entrance, her posture regal, yet her mind raced with thoughts of the human she was about to meet. Would he be clever, kind, or foolish? Could she respect someone so different? And more importantly, could she ever truly trust a human with her life, her honor, and her heart? The ship lifted from Xiphora, carrying Liara across the stars. She looked back at her planet, its cities floating in golden light, its seas shimmering. She felt a pang of longing, but also a spark of excitement. This journey, forced as it was, might reveal truths about humans and perhaps even about herself. As the stars blurred past, Liara made a silent vow. She would face this challenge with courage. She would honor her planet, her family, and herself. And no matter what, she would not allow fear to rule her. For somewhere out there, waiting on a small blue planet, was a human who would change her life forever. The sky above Earth was a deep navy blue dotted with distant stars as the royal transport ship descended. The ship's surface shimmered as it cut through the atmosphere, moving with a grace and speed unlike any human-made craft. Below, humans continued their daily lives, unaware that a figure from a faraway galaxy was about to arrive. Inside the ship, Princess Liara adjusted her ceremonial robes, the fabric flowing like liquid light. She glanced out the viewing window at the planet below. Its landscapes were rough and diverse, towering mountains, sprawling forests, deep oceans. But compared to Xiphora, it felt raw, unpredictable, and unpolished. Her attendants, a small group of Xiphorian aides trained in etiquette, whispered among themselves. "The humans, they are unpredictable," one said nervously. "The princess must remain cautious." Liara nodded but said nothing. She had faced challenges before, both in competitions and in the political arenas of Xiphoria. Humans were new, yes, but she would meet this challenge as she had met all others, with calm precision and intelligence. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Elias Drake was pacing his small apartment. His communicator beeped insistently, flashing, a light that indicated an incoming interstellar transmission. He froze, heart pounding. "It's probably another alien scam," he muttered, "or a joke from the Space Exploration Command." But when the holographic image appeared, he could not believe his eyes. A tall, luminous figure stood in the glowing frame, a woman with silver hair, violet eyes, and a presence so commanding that he instinctively straightened. "Captain Elias Drake," she said in perfect English, though her voice carried the subtle resonance of her Xiphorian origin. "I am Princess Liara of Xiphora. As required by recent interstellar laws, we are to be joined in a diplomatic marriage." Elias blinked. What? Married? You're a alien?" His voice wavered between shock and awe. "Yes," Liara said calmly. "You are the human chosen. I will arrive on your planet shortly to complete the formalities." Elias ran a hand through his hair, muttering to himself, "A princess from another world marrying me. This has to be a mistake. I deal with space missions, not weddings." But no amount of protest could change what had been decided. Within hours, Liara's ship landed in a secure government facility. Humans had been instructed to provide a welcoming team, but no one had expected her to step out of the ship with the aura of royalty and authority she carried. Elias arrived, escorted by government officials. He wore a suit, trying to appear calm and collected, but his heart raced. He had seen alien technology before, met beings from other worlds, but never anything like this. Liara stepped onto the platform, her robes glinting in the earth sunlight, her expression serene yet unreadable. The first moments were awkward. Elias bowed slightly, a gesture that felt almost ridiculous in front of someone so regal. Liara inclined her head gracefully. "Captain Drake," she said, "I trust you are prepared for the customs of Xiphoria." Elias swallowed. I've been briefed," he said cautiously. "I think. Mostly. Probably." Liara's violet eyes studied him carefully. She could see the curiosity, the caution, and even the fear hidden beneath his composure. Humans were complex, she realized. Their emotions were raw, visible, and unpredictable. Xiphorians often masked their feelings, but humans wore them openly, and it made them both fascinating and difficult to judge. The initial days were filled with training and introductions. Liara was taught how humans communicated, the importance of gestures, and the subtle nuances of their culture. Humans, in turn, learned about Xiphorian customs, technology, and the strict etiquette surrounding their royalty. Despite the preparations, misunderstandings were inevitable. On her first morning in Elias's city, Liara entered the kitchen expecting the food to be bland and simple. Instead, she was met with sizzling bacon, toast, and coffee. She blinked at the aroma. "This is food?" she asked, unsure. Elias laughed nervously. "Yes, it's breakfast. Not exactly Xiphorian cuisine, I admit, but it's what humans eat." Liara cautiously tasted the bacon. The flavors were intense, salty, and rich, unlike anything she had experienced. She almost flinched, but forced herself to remain composed. "Interesting," she said simply, masking her surprise. The humor in these small moments helped break the tension. Elias, who had expected a distant and formal alien princess, found himself laughing at her reactions. Liara, who had expected a clumsy and uninspiring human, began noticing Elias's intelligence, his quick thinking, and the kindness hidden beneath his nervousness. Still, the differences between them were vast. Liara preferred order and precision. Elias thrived in improvisation. She planned meticulously. He acted instinctively. Their conversations often turned into gentle debates, each trying to understand the other's perspective. One evening, Elias attempted to show Liara the human pastime of stargazing. They climbed a hill outside the city, away from artificial lights, and lay on the grass looking at the night sky. The stars were familiar to Liara, but their appearance from Earth's atmosphere was different, clearer, sharper, somehow more alive. "Your planet's sky is chaotic," she said softly. "On Xiphora, the stars move predictably. Here they feel untamed. Elias smiled. That's one way to put it. We humans, we like a little chaos. Keeps life interesting. Liara considered this. Chaos was uncomfortable to her, yet she felt a strange fascination. Humans survived in ways Xiphorians could not understand, thriving on unpredictability and instinct. There was strength in that, a resilience she had never seen in any other species. Over the next few weeks, the two of them began to learn from one another. Liara taught Elias about strategy, diplomacy, and the Xiphorian approach to problem-solving. Elias introduced her to human inventions, practical thinking, and the art of improvisation. Each day they grew more comfortable in each other's presence, though neither would admit it openly. Yet not everything was easy. Some humans questioned Elias's ability to interact with an alien princess, and some Xiphorians doubted Liara's choice to work closely with a human. Gossip spread, testing both of them. But through these trials, Liara and Elias developed a subtle trust. They discovered that cooperation, combining Xiphorian intelligence with human adaptability, was far more powerful than either could have imagined alone. One afternoon, an unexpected situation forced them to rely on each other fully. A small meteorite had landed near the city, releasing a strange energy field. Humans were panicked, unsure how to respond. Liara and Elias combined their skills, her analytical mind with his practical experience, to neutralize the energy field. The success was complete, and for the first time Liara felt a surge of respect for humans not just as a species, but for Elias as an individual. The mission also taught Elias something vital about Liara. She was not merely a princess in ceremonial robes. She was intelligent, courageous, and capable of facing danger without hesitation. Her calm under pressure and her strategic thinking impressed him deeply. By the end of the first month, the initial tension between them had eased. They were no longer merely a princess and a human chosen by law. They were a team, learning, laughing, and sometimes arguing, but always pushing each other to be better. Still, both understood the larger picture. Their union was more than personal. It was diplomatic. It represented an alliance, a symbol of interstellar cooperation, and a challenge to centuries of preconceived notions. Every step they took together carried weight, and every choice had consequences far beyond themselves. As Liara looked out from her temporary Earth residence, watching the sun dip below the horizon, she reflected on the strange journey ahead. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but there was a spark in them, something raw, alive, and powerful. And Elias, he was unlike any being she had ever met. Elias, too, lay awake that night thinking about Liara. He realized that beneath her regal demeanor was a sharp mind and a curiosity that rivaled his own. He wondered if he could ever match her intelligence, keep up with her speed of thought, and earn her respect fully. More importantly, he wondered if he could survive this strange diplomatic marriage with dignity, and perhaps even with friendship. The first contact had been made. Two worlds, two species, two very different individuals were now connected by an unbreakable bond of duty. Neither knew exactly where this journey would lead, but both felt the undeniable pull of curiosity, challenge, and a growing sense of respect. And in that moment, under the same starlit sky, Princess Liara of Xiphora and Captain Elias Drake of Earth began a partnership that could change the way humans and all species were seen in the galaxy. The day began quietly on Earth, but an urgent message shattered the calm. A small neutral colony on the planet Orion 9, located in a distant star system, was in danger. A rogue asteroid had entered an unstable orbit and was heading straight for the colony. Scientists predicted a catastrophic collision if nothing was done. The news reached both human and Xiphorian authorities, and immediately Princess Liara and Captain Elias Drake were called upon. Liara studied the reports with a focused intensity. Charts and calculations filled the holographic displays in her temporary Earth residence. "The asteroid's path is unpredictable," she said, her fingers tracing the complex lines of its trajectory. "We will need to act quickly and with precision. Any delay could destroy the colony entirely." Elias leaned over her shoulder, pointing at one of the readings. The gravitational pull from nearby moons is affecting its trajectory. If we can adjust its path even slightly, we could avoid disaster, but it will take a careful combination of technology and timing. The two of them looked at each other, realizing this mission would test not just their skills, but their ability to work together. Liara's analytical mind and advanced Xiphorian technology were powerful, but Elias's human ingenuity, resourcefulness, and instinctive thinking were equally essential. The plan was set. They would travel to Orion 9 aboard a specially equipped shuttle, carry a series of propulsion devices, and attempt to nudge the asteroid into a safer orbit. It was dangerous, and failure was not an option. As the shuttle lifted off from Earth, Liara felt a familiar sense of anticipation. She had faced challenges before, but this was different. They were not competing against an opponent or a simulation. They were facing a real threat to life. And beside her was a human, someone she still barely knew, yet whose courage she would soon depend on completely. Elias handled the controls with a steady hand, though his heart raced. He had navigated dangerous space routes before, but this mission carried a weight beyond anything he had experienced. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and the colony could be destroyed. He glanced at Liara. She was calm, almost unnervingly so, but he could see the tension in her eyes. When they arrived at Orion 9, the asteroid loomed above the planet like a dark, spinning mountain. Its surface shimmered with jagged edges, and fragments occasionally broke off, burning as they entered the thin atmosphere. The colony below had initiated emergency protocols, but there was no time to rely solely on automated systems. Liara and Elias worked quickly, deploying the propulsion devices. Each one required precise placement on the asteroid's surface, and the conditions were hazardous. Microgravity made movement difficult, and small fragments threatened to knock them off balance. "Elias, pass me the stabilizer," Liara called, her voice calm but commanding. He handed it to her, and she attached it to the nearest device with meticulous precision. "Good work," she said, her eyes flashing briefly with respect. Humans are clever in ways Xiphorians rarely expect. Elias chuckled, though his focus never wavered. And Xiphorians are amazing at thinking ahead. "I'm learning a lot from you, Princess." They moved together across the asteroid, facing hazards at every step. At one point, a fragment struck near Elias, sending him spinning. Liara reacted instantly, grabbing his arm and pulling him to safety. "Careful," she warned, though there was no anger in her voice, only a sharp reminder. "I've got this," he replied, shaking off the shock. But she could see that even a seasoned human like him was affected by the danger. Hours passed, and slowly, the devices were deployed. Each one had to be activated in a precise sequence or the entire plan would fail. Liara calculated the timing, her mind racing with equations and trajectories. Elias monitored the device's readings, making adjustments on the fly. As the final device powered up, a surge of energy shook the asteroid. Small fragments broke away, and the asteroid began to shift. Liara and Elias held their positions, waiting for the critical moment. "Now," Liara commanded. The asteroid responded, changing its orbit just enough to avoid the colony. Below, alarms shifted from danger to caution. The inhabitants of Orion 9 watched in awe as the massive object veered safely past their planet. Elias exhaled, collapsing slightly onto the surface. "We did it," he said, a mixture of relief and amazement in his voice. Liara nodded, but she didn't relax immediately. She scanned the asteroid, ensuring every device functioned correctly and that no fragments threatened the colony. Only when she was certain that the danger had passed did she allow herself a small, satisfied smile. "Humans," she said quietly, "you are far more capable than I expected." Elias laughed softly. "And Xiphorians? You're incredible. I don't think I've ever met anyone like you." For the first time, there was no tension between them. They had faced a real challenge together, relying not only on their skills but on trust. Trust that each would act wisely, act bravely, and support the other when needed. Returning to Earth, they were met with praise from both human authorities and Xiphorian diplomats. The success of the mission made headlines across galaxies. For humans, it was proof that their species was more resilient than many aliens believed. For Liara, it was proof that she could depend on a human not just in theory, but in life and death situations. Yet, Despite the accolades, both Liara and Elias understood that this was only the beginning. Their partnership had been tested in one situation, but many challenges lay ahead, political, cultural, and personal. They were still strangers in many ways, bound by duty more than choice. That evening, Liara returned to her quarters on Earth, exhausted, but thoughtful. She reflected on the day's events, on the courage of humans, and on Elias's quick thinking and adaptability. She realized that humans were unpredictable, yes, but their unpredictability was not weakness, it was strength. Humans could improvise, adapt, and innovate in ways Xiphorians could only admire from a distance. Elias, in his own quarters, thought about Liara. He realized she was not merely a symbol of alien royalty. She was smart, courageous, and capable of inspiring trust. He wondered if, over time, their forced marriage could evolve into something more than duty. Perhaps it could become mutual respect, even friendship. The next few days were quieter, giving them time to adjust. They shared meals, discussed Earth and Xiphoria's cultures, and exchanged ideas. Each conversation revealed more about the other, and slowly, barriers began to fall. Humor, curiosity, and shared experiences created a bond that neither could ignore. But the galaxy was watching. News of their cooperation and success had spread, and some factions were uneasy. Certain alien diplomats questioned whether humans should be trusted with such responsibilities. Some humans doubted whether they could maintain diplomacy with a species so advanced and strict. Through it all, Liara and Elias remained focused. They knew that their partnership was more than personal. It represented a possibility. If humans and Xiphorians could work together, combining intelligence, courage, and ingenuity, perhaps other species could too. Late one night, as Earth's city lights twinkled below, Liara and Elias stood side by side on a balcony. The wind ruffled Liara's silver hair, and Elias felt a calm he had not expected. "You did well today," Liara said softly. "I could not have completed the mission without you." "And you were incredible," Elias replied. "I still can't believe how calm you stayed even when everything was falling apart." Liara looked at him, her violet eyes reflecting a mixture of respect and something unspoken. "We learned to trust each other," she said. "That is what made the difference. Intelligence alone is not enough. Courage alone is not enough. Trust, that is what matters." Elias nodded, understanding the truth in her words. They were no longer simply a human and a Xiphorian princess, they were a team. And for the first time, both of them realized that duty had led them to something far greater. The possibility of real partnership, built on mutual respect and understanding. The galaxy would continue to challenge them. But Liara and Elias now knew they could face whatever came next, together. The celebrations following the successful asteroid mission had barely settled when new tension arose. Messages from Xiphoria carried urgent warnings. A faction of the Royal Council questioned the wisdom of Princess Liara marrying a human. Some argued that humans were too unpredictable, too impulsive, and too different to share in Xiphorian honor. Liara received the news in her Earth residence. Her violet eyes narrowed as she read the messages, her mind racing. "They fear what they do not understand," she said quietly. "They think humans cannot uphold the dignity of Xiphoria, but Elias has proven them wrong." Elias looked over her shoulder, concern etched on his face. "Do you think they will interfere?" Liara shook her head. "Not directly. But their disapproval may create obstacles, political, diplomatic, perhaps even dangerous ones. We must be careful." Despite the warnings, Liara and Elias continued to build their partnership. They visited diplomats, scientists, and leaders from both human and alien factions, demonstrating the strength of their combined abilities. Yet the whispers of dissent grew louder. One evening, as they reviewed a series of trade negotiations with interstellar merchants, an emergency alert flashed across their monitors. A group of political rebels from Xiphoria had infiltrated the diplomatic assembly on Orion 9. Their goal was clear: prevent the marriage by any means necessary. The rebels believed that uniting a Xiphorian princess with a human would weaken their planet's influence and prestige. Liara's heart remained steady, but her mind worked at a rapid pace. "Elias, we need a plan. These rebels will try to cause chaos, but we cannot let them succeed. The galaxy is watching, and failure is not an option." Elias nodded, his own resolve firming. "We can handle this, but we'll need to act quickly and decisively. Together, They coordinated with security teams from both Xiforia and Earth. They prepared evacuation routes, communication channels, and defensive measures to protect the assembly. But Liara and Elias also knew that brute force alone would not work. They needed to combine their intelligence, strategy, and courage to overcome the threat. When the rebels arrived, chaos erupted. The assembly hall shook with energy, alarms blaring as holographic displays flickered and security drones activated. Yet Liara and Elias moved calmly, each guiding the other through the confusion. Liara's sharp mind anticipated the rebels' moves. She directed drones to intercept intruders, calculated safe paths for delegates, and ensured that no civilians were harmed. Elias, relying on his instinct and adaptability, improvised barriers, redirected energy flows, and communicated with human security teams to contain threats. Together, they became a seamless unit. Rebels attempted to block exits, but Liara's quick calculations and Elias's improvisation outmaneuvered them at every turn. They rescued delegates trapped in dangerous areas, neutralized harmful devices, and maintained calm under pressure. At one critical moment, a rebel leader attempted to activate a weapon designed to breach the assembly's defenses. Elias spotted it and rushed forward, dodging energy blasts, while Liara coordinated the shutdown sequence. With precise timing, Elias disabled the weapon just as Liara completed the calculations to override the security protocols. The rebels, realizing their plan had failed, retreated. Security forces contained them, and peace returned to the assembly hall. Delegates and officials breathed sighs of relief, acknowledging the extraordinary skill and bravery displayed by the unlikely pair. In the aftermath, Liara and Elias stood side by side, catching their breath. Liara's eyes, usually calm and composed, shone with a mixture of relief and admiration. "You were remarkable," she said. "Your instincts, they saved lives today." Elias smiled, though exhaustion was visible on his face. "And your mind is incredible. You see things before they happen. I would have been lost without your guidance." For the first time, they allowed themselves a moment of mutual respect and acknowledgement. They had faced danger together, combining human ingenuity and Xiforian intelligence, proving that their partnership was more than a duty, it was a force to be reckoned with. The news of their heroism spread quickly. Across the galaxy, species that had doubted humans' capabilities began to reconsider. Humans were no longer seen merely as unpredictable or primitive. They were resilient, clever, and capable of extraordinary courage. Liara realized that this event had changed perceptions not just of humans, but of her own role. She had feared the marriage might diminish her honor, but instead it had enhanced it. Her willingness to trust Elias, to work alongside a human, had demonstrated wisdom, courage, and leadership that no one could question. Elias, too, felt a transformation within himself. He had entered this situation reluctantly, uncertain and overwhelmed by the responsibilities of interstellar diplomacy. Now he understood that humans could rise to challenges far greater than those on Earth. With Liara by his side, he felt capable of achieving things he had never imagined. Yet, despite their success, the couple knew that challenges were far from over. The political factions that opposed them would continue to test their resolve, and the galaxy itself was full of unpredictable dangers. To strengthen their position, Liara and Elias began joint initiatives. They organized educational programs to teach humans and Xiforians about each other's cultures, held diplomatic summits to encourage cooperation, and developed missions that required collaboration across species. Each effort showcased the power of unity and the potential that arose when humans and Xiforians worked together. During one summit, Liara addressed a crowd of leaders from multiple worlds. Her voice was calm yet carried authority. "The galaxy thrives when we embrace differences. Humans are not perfect, but they are courageous, adaptable, and inventive. Xiforia has much to learn from them and they from us. Together we are stronger than any one species alone." Elias watched from beside her, proud and inspired. He had never imagined standing in front of interstellar leaders, advocating for unity with an alien princess at his side. Yet here he was, and he felt a deep sense of purpose and possibility. The summit ended with applause, and even the most skeptical diplomats nodded in acknowledgement. The bond between Liara and Elias was no longer a curiosity, it had become a symbol that humans and Xiforians could work together, that differences could be strengths, and that courage and intelligence could overcome fear and prejudice. Back on Earth, in the quiet of their shared quarters, Liara and Elias reflected on the events of the past days. The danger, the cooperation, the success, it had all brought them closer, not just as partners in duty, but as allies and friends. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Elias asked quietly, looking at the stars outside the window. Liara smiled faintly. "Every day. We were strangers, bound by a wager. Now we are partners. The galaxy may watch us, may doubt us, but together we have proven something important, not just to others, but to ourselves." Elias nodded, feeling the truth in her words. Their journey had not been easy, but it had revealed something vital. Humans were not weak, and Xiphorians were not infallible. Strength came from collaboration, respect, and the courage to trust one another. As night fell over the city, they stood together, looking out at Earth's lights. The world seemed calm, but both knew that challenges would continue. Political factions, cultural differences, and unforeseen dangers were still out there. Yet they faced the future with confidence, knowing that their unity, and the combination of human resilience and Xiphorian intelligence, was a force no one could easily overcome. For Princess Liara and Captain Elias Drake, the journey had transformed from a forced arrangement into a partnership built on trust, respect, and shared courage. And somewhere deep within, both knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was changing, and they were at the forefront of that change. Proof that humans, when guided by courage and ingenuity, could stand among the stars as equals, and more importantly, that sometimes the most unlikely partnerships could reveal the greatest strength. The day of the marriage had arrived. The grand hall on Earth's specially constructed interstellar embassy gleamed under soft lights, decorated with symbols from both Xiphoria and Earth. Delegates, dignitaries, and curious onlookers from multiple worlds filled the room, each waiting to witness the union of Princess Liara and Captain Elias Drake. Liara stood at the entrance, her ceremonial robes flowing like liquid light. Her silver hair shimmered and her violet eyes reflected a calm confidence. Beside her, attendants checked every detail, ensuring that the ceremony honored both Xiphorian and human traditions. Elias approached, dressed in formal attire designed to respect Xiphorian expectations. He felt nervous, but the nerves were tempered by confidence earned through months of shared experiences, dangerous missions, and mutual respect. He had learned to rely on Liara, and she had learned to trust him. Together, they were no longer just representatives of two species. They were a symbol of unity and courage. The ceremony began with speeches from leaders of both worlds. Praise was given for their heroism during the Orion 9 asteroid incident, and for their efforts to foster understanding between humans and Xiphorians. Both Liara and Elias listened quietly, absorbing the acknowledgement not only of their bravery but of the trust and partnership they had cultivated. Finally, it was time. They stood before the assembly, facing one another. The officiant, a respected diplomat from a neutral world, spoke of unity, cooperation, and the strength that arises when different species work together. Liara looked into Elias's eyes. For a moment, all the noise, all the politics, all the doubts faded. She saw a human who had faced challenges with courage and ingenuity, who had earned her respect and trust. He was clever, resourceful, and willing to act boldly when needed. Elias met her gaze, feeling the weight of the moment. He saw not just a princess, but a brilliant and fearless individual. Liara had challenged him, taught him, and saved him in ways no one else ever could. He felt admiration, respect, and something deeper he had not expected. The officiant began the vows, and the words were simple, yet powerful. They spoke not of obligation, but of choice, trust, and partnership. Both Liara and Elias repeated the vows, acknowledging the responsibilities and the potential of their union. As they exchanged their symbolic gifts, Liara giving Elias a crystal pendant from Xiphoria, and Elias giving her a small earth artifact, a locket symbolizing humanity. The room filled with applause. These gifts were more than ceremonial. They were symbols of two worlds coming together, of respect for differences and of hope for the future. Yet, as the ceremony concluded, a final challenge emerged. Some of the dissenting Xiphorian faction had not given up. A small group attempted to disrupt the event, believing they could still prevent the marriage. Security forces moved quickly, but Liara and Elias knew that words and strategy, not force alone, would resolve this. Liara stepped forward. Her voice was calm, clear, and commanding. "Violence and fear will not serve us," she said. "We have proven that humans and Xiphorians can work together. That strength comes from cooperation, not conflict. If you truly honor Xiphoria, you will honor what we have achieved." Elias added, his tone firm yet respectful. "We are not here to break traditions, but to expand them. Humans are not inferior. They are resourceful, courageous, and capable of great wisdom. Working together, we are stronger than we are apart." For a long moment, the room was silent. Then slowly, the dissenters stepped back, realizing the truth in their words. The marriage could not be undone, not because of law alone, but because of the unity, courage, and intelligence demonstrated by both Liara and Elias. With the final obstacle removed, the assembly erupted in celebration. Delegates, officials, and onlookers cheered for the couple, and for what they represented: hope, unity, and the limitless potential that arises when beings from different worlds come together. In the days following the marriage, Liara and Elias worked to solidify alliances and initiatives. They organized joint missions to explore uncharted star systems, combining Xiphorian technology with human ingenuity. Every success strengthened the image of humans as capable, intelligent, and brave, qualities previously underestimated by many alien species. Liara marveled at how humans approached challenges. Their creativity, adaptability, and willingness to take risks often led to solutions that Xiphorians, with all their precision, might have overlooked. Elias, in turn, learned from her discipline, strategic thinking, and calm decision-making. Together, they were a team capable of achieving what neither could alone. During one mission, they navigated a treacherous asteroid belt to deliver medical supplies to a distant colony. Liara calculated exact trajectories, while Elias improvised tools and methods to handle unexpected obstacles. Their cooperation saved countless lives and further demonstrated the value of their partnership. Back on Earth, they took time to experience each other's worlds. Liara walked through bustling cities, marveling at human resilience and creativity. Elias explored Xiphorian technology, learning to understand its elegance and precision. Each discovery deepened their respect for one another, and a quiet bond of friendship and trust blossomed. Despite the challenges and dangers, both felt a sense of fulfillment. They had begun as strangers bound by a wager, but now they were partners, allies, and friends. The galaxy, once skeptical of humans, began to recognize their value. The lessons of trust, courage, and cooperation spread across worlds. One evening, Liara and Elias stood together on the balcony of their shared residence. Earth's sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with brilliant oranges and purples. Stars appeared bright and constant, as if witnessing the dawn of a new era. "We've come far," Elias said softly. "From a wager to this?" Liara nodded, her silver hair catching the last rays of sunlight. "Yes, we have faced challenges, danger, and doubt, and yet here we are, together, not because we were forced, but because we learned to trust and respect each other." Elias smiled. "I never thought a human could find a place in your world, but I think we're proving that humans can do more than anyone expected." "And you," Liara replied, "have proven that even Xiphorians can learn from humans, that courage, ingenuity, and heart matter as much as tradition and precision." They shared a quiet moment, watching the stars, feeling the weight and promise of their union. It was more than marriage. It was a partnership capable of shaping the future of the galaxy. In the months that followed, they embarked on missions to new star systems, attended diplomatic events together, and continued to strengthen alliances between humans and Xiphorians. Each success reinforced the idea that humans, once underestimated, were a force to be respected. The galaxy slowly began to change its perception. Humans were no longer seen as primitive or unpredictable. They were recognized as clever, courageous, and adaptable. Liara's trust and Elias's bravery had inspired countless individuals across species to reconsider their assumptions and work together. And through it all, Liara and Elias remained partners. Their relationship was built not on obligation but on respect, understanding, and shared experience. They laughed together, faced dangers together, and celebrated victories together. The story of their journey, beginning with a wager and culminating in unity, became a tale told across star systems. It reminded everyone that courage, trust, and collaboration could overcome prejudice and fear. And it showed that even the most unlikely partnerships could lead to extraordinary achievements. As they looked out at the galaxy from their shared residence, Liara and Elias knew that this was only the beginning. Countless challenges awaited, but they would face them together. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, and the bond between a human and a Xiphorian princess symbolized hope, courage, and the limitless potential of unity. For Princess Liara and Captain Elias Drake, the wager that had once seemed a burden had become a journey of discovery, friendship, and trust. They had proven that humans could stand shoulder to shoulder with the most advanced civilizations, and as they prepared for future adventures, they did so with confidence, hope, and the knowledge that together they could overcome any challenge the galaxy presented. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a reminder that the universe was vast, full of possibilities, and waiting for those brave enough to explore it. And with courage, respect, and partnership, Liara and Elias would continue to write a story that inspired generations to come.